Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to World Cinema Reviews. This is your host, Frank the Vamp, and today we got a very special video because we're gonna talk about a film that I was really interested in watching. And it's no secret that I love Asian horror. Asian horror, to me, I mean, it opened up a new world as horror could be. Being a Westerner, watching mostly horror films from the United States, some from Canada, some from Western countries. I mean, there's little rules and sets that you're expected, creatures that are expected to be a certain way. When you open up to Asian horror, you open up to more of a traditional horror that doesn't come from fiction as much as the cultural background of and religious backgrounds. Taoist monks, and Chinese folklore, which this is gonna tie right into really traditional things that Chinese people have been told since they were, in legend, since they were from a very early age. I'm gonna try to do my best on pronunciations today. My Mandarin understanding, according to the computer, is about 38 words, which has probably, I measured that about 2 years ago, and I have grown a little bit because of my love of horror, Asian horror. Then I have to pick up some more words. So I don't want to brag, but I say I'm in the 50, somewhere in the 50 to 70 range, which is not very great at all, but I'm gonna try my best pronouncing. And please, if you're from a Mandarin background, especially a Cantonese background, because I may actually dare to say something in Cantonese today, please forgive me. Disclaimer over. Now let's dive into this awesome film from 2013 called Rigor Mortis. And Rigor Mortis, it's the American title, but we're gonna talk about where it came from, which is the actual title in Mandarin, and in Cantonese means the same, which is Yang Ji. In Mandarin, or going sai, going sai, I'm sorry, going sai, that actually means reanimated corpse or vampire. This film, it's a tribute to the Jian movies from the 1980s. Meaning it's not only the word vampire or the word reanimated corpse. It's actually a genre. It actually was a lot of humor, and there was this film called Mr. Vampire in the 80s that actually spawned some sequels that I was very popular with this genre. And director Juno Mack, seek the help of Japanese renowned director, now acting as a producer, which is Mr. Takashi Shimizu. As you will remember, if you have your knowledge, it's the Jian, is the Grudge creator. So if we have a great franchise here, and the director is that's many things, including some singing, and went to Japan, and I think that's probably the relationship that goes here. And this turns out to be great because the film is no longer this very funny light horror like the 80s movies from Mr. Vampire. This is a very serious, and it dives into tradition, and it actually borrows a little bit from Japanese horror as well. And it's really enjoyable for knowers of the genre, knowers of people who like action horror. You will not be disappointed with Rigor Mortis. So let's dive into what it is. A lot of the actors that come back from Mr. Vampire from the 80s are brought back. Shin Siu-ho, which is the protagonist, Anthony Chan, Billy Lau as Richard Ng, and additionally we got Chon Fat from starting for another another horror movie called Encounters of the Spooky Kind. That they were from the same genre. So let's talk about a little bit about the plot before we talk about what I like about this film. The actual plot goes into the actual actor Shin Shu Ho, has starred in the Mr. Vampire movies, and in supposedly he's in real life has gone through either the not so clear the death or separation of his spouse and child. It's hinted that it could be a death, but it's more like a divorce where the man is not allowed to see his kid, and he's really depressed. He hasn't worked in years, so he moves into the slums, the apartment building in Hong Kong, and it's a pigsty. It looks horrible. The actual place, but he's out of money, and all he's got is his old customs from the movies, and he just pretty much has given up on everything, and in the very first few minutes he actually tries to commit suicide because he can't see his kid. He's depressed. When he tries to commit suicide, another man that is passing by helps him out and trumps the whole thing, so saves the man and says, hey, you shouldn't kill yourself. He thanks him, but turns out that his suicide attempt kind of opens a little bit of the awareness of the supernatural, and turns out that actual building, specifically the room where he's living at, it has been the scene of a violent crime, which I will not reveal too much because it's a really heinous crime. And what happens is that it develops some supernatural activity from some ghosts that live in there and hunt him and hunt everybody else. However, in this really strange place where ghosts seem to lure, he learns that the man who actually helped him, to save his life, it's a former vampire hunter, but that type of life is something that you just don't want to do. So he's kind of retired, in semi-retirement, but the building is actually a supernatural building and there are many ghosts. But the actual main plot happens to be with this lady that lives in the apartments, and she loves her husband. Everything's going well until, unfortunately, a horrible accident. You'll see the movie. I don't want to spoil it, but this man may have fallen to his death, whether he was aided or not by a supernatural. I'm going to let you see it, and I'm going to spoil that. But in the same building where the vampire hunter lives, there's also a black witch. In Chinese culture, this man has an actual power that may bring back the dead. And because this lady basically cannot bear the loss of her husband, she goes to supernatural means to bring him back. That's where I'm going to leave the movie, which and I know, no spoiler here, that always goes wrong. As we know by Pet Sematary, that always goes really wrong. Things that I like about this film: the traditional aspect. We got several. First of all, we got ghosts. Ghosts who eat. There's this is real Chinese history. Okay, there's people leave little offerings outside the door, and sometimes a mirror, to protect themselves from supernatural activities from ghosts. And this ghost is supposed to eat the food that's being offered to them, especially on ghost month, on ghost month, because if they don't eat that, they may eat you. I kid you not. You may suffer a horrible death if you don't do that. some people believe. What a nice belief, huh? Now, that's feature. There's another thing that's feature, which is the Unreal Ghost. The Unreal Ghost subject matter, which is the vengeful ghost from the it's that's combined with the Chinese. There's a Japanese concept mostly, and the there's some ghosts that will appear that are really horrifying. Kind of like The Grudge. Use a big callback to Takashi, and that's a really 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 creepy feeling that they give you. Then there's the vampire. Now I want to talk about a little bit about this. Asian vampires are not like Western vampires. They still may consume blood, but they're more like controlled by witchcraft. Think back in the 1930s, the white zombie thing. Back when zombies were just mind control to do people's bidding, to do evil things. These are more like vampires, but they have to be covered on the mouth, or they have to be sealed with a spell from a black witch. If they are not, they may rip your throat off. Kid you not. Look it up. So the movie is lovely. It's not very gory. Somewhat, a little bit. There's some parts. It has really creepy atmosphere, which I really like. I like the tradition. I like the atmosphere. I also like the fact that the callback to Mr. Vampire, veteran actors, very well done. I actually like the weird ending. The ending of this will surprise you, but the way I'm gonna leave it without spoiling it is that it kind of gives you like the DVD ending in there. Like it gives you the alternate ending if something else would have happened. That's what I'm gonna tell you. That's it. Once you see it, you're gonna see. Because if you see it first, you're not gonna understand it. But it took me a while, and then I understood that this is how the film could end if you wanted to. But if there's a sideline here, something else would have happened. This is how it could end. So I actually like that. I think that's very clever. The film is scary. The film is creepy. Things that objections, things that could be bad. The film is really slow paced. I mean, we don't see the vampire till midway through the film, and we actually don't see the vampire in action till the last 20 minutes. So kind of disappointing for a film called Vampire, don't you think? in Chinese, but I think that it went well. I do believe the expectation, and once you finally see this vampire, you're gonna crap your pants. I kid you not. Now, the Unreal Ghost, I did not like the CG. I think CG is too used, and it kind of works, but I like more the Jian, the Grudge, where you actually use the model more than using this CG. I like that type of animation. So overall, I will say that Rigor Mortis, you have to give it a shot. I'm gonna give it a B minus. There's a lot to offer, even though it's slow pace. It's worth the wait, and if you can hang on, you're gonna find a lot of nice things, and the horror aspect is pretty scary. I watched it late at night. I really had a lot of expectations. I expected a little more. I'll be honest, so that's why I don't give it an A. But because of a slow pace, it is hard to follow, and the ending is a little hard to understand. But if you are a fan of Asian horror, it's a definitely must watch. If you just like horror movies, I think this is a good late at night edition, and it's worth watching. Take it easy, take care, watch Rigor Mortis, Tai Chin.